Hello everyone, this is Dr. Muhammad Abrar. In this video, I'll discuss supply concept from chapter 3 of Microeconomics. As you know, we divided this chapter into three parts. So in the last video, I covered the part 1 on the law of demand. So in the second part on this lecture, I will explain the law of supply. In economics, supply refers to the total quantity of a good or services that producers are willing and able to offer for sales at a various price offer over a specific period. This concept is typically depicted either through a supply schedule, which is a table showing the quantities that suppliers are willing to produce and sell at a different prices, or through a supply curve which plots these quantities on a graph against the price levels. So individual supply usually refers to a quantity of a good or services that a single producer or firm is willing to supply at a different prices. So this individual decision is influenced by factors such as the cost of productions, including raw material, the labor wages, and technological price enhancement and improvement, as well as the producer's expectations about the future market conditions and profits. For instance, if the price of a product increases, so the individual producers may be motivated to increase the productions to capitalize on higher profits. So assuming the other factors remain constant. On the other hand, the market supply, which represents the aggregate quantity of a good or services that all producers in a particular market are willing to supply at each price level. It is determined by horizontally summing the individual supply curves of all producers in the market. So the market supply curve shows how the total quantity supplied by the entire market changes as price changes. So assuming the ceteris paribus effect, all other factors that will remain constant. So analyzing the supply dynamics is very essential in economics for understanding how changes in factors such as input cost, technological advancements, government policies, and consumers' demand influence the overall ability of goods and services in a market economy. So by examining a supply schedule and curves, we can forecast how producers will respond to change in market conditions, helping to predict price movements and make informed decisions about resource allocation and economic policies. The law of supply that asserts holding all as constant, that's a ceteris paribus assumptions, an increase in price of a good or services lead to an increase or expansion in quantity supplied. So while a decrease in price will decrease the quantity supplied. This principle hinges on the fundamental economic concepts that price act as a critical incentive for producers. So whenever price will rise, the producers see an opportunity for higher profits and are motivated to allocate more resources towards increasing productions. So this can involve hiring more labor, purchasing additional raw material, or utilizing the existing resources more intensively. So, however, the relationship between price and quantity supply is not solely driven by incentives. The cost consideration play a critical, a vital role as well. As the prices escalate, the cost associated with the production typically rise. So these costs might include the expansion for the raw material, paying of more wages to the labor, the energy prices, or the other inputs that utilize in the production. So at a certain point, the increasing or increased cost may diminish the profitability of producing additional units, so thereby influencing how much producers are willing and able to supply at the higher prices. Moreover, the responsiveness of the quantity supply may also affect the supply of any particular product and services. Like some product may have a more elastic supply curves, so that meaning the producers can adjust their output relatively easily in response to the price changes compared to the product is having an inelastic supply or less elastic supply. If we can have a look to this supply curve, we have just draw this curve. On x-axis we have taken our quantity supplied here, and on y-axis we have taken the prices. So we can see as the prices are increasing, the quantity supplied is also increasing. The similar trend we can see in a table, in a schedule where we have some certain price level against some certain quantity supplied. So if the prices are decreasing, like from 5 to 4, 4 to 3, so similarly the quantity supplied is also decreasing, and vice versa if the prices are increasing. This supply curve illustrates a direct relationship between price and quantity supplied. So typically sloping upward from left to right. So this upward slope indicates that a ceteris paribus, all else equal, producers are willing to supply more of a product at higher prices and less at the lower prices. So this phenomena is rooted in profit maximization principle. As the prices of a product rises, producers find it more profitable to allocate more resources and the production towards that product, so thus increasing the quantity supplied. And conversely, when the prices falls, the profitability per unit decreases, so promoting the producers to reduce their output. So this relationship underpin the law of supply, where higher prices incentivize greater production and lower prices constrain it, so forming the basis of supply decisions in the market. In economics, if we talk about the determinants of supply, that encompasses the various factors that influence how much producers are willing and able to supply at a different price points. So these determinants includes the prices, uh, like the input prices, that's a cost of production, such as the wages, such as the raw material. It can be a technological advancements that affect the production efficiency. It can be expectations about the future market conditions, maybe future prices or future different future market dynamics, as well as the number of sellers in the market, the government policies such as taxes and subsidies, all can affect the supply. So when these determinants change, or one of these determinants change, they cause the entire supply curve to shift either to the right or to the left. An increase in supply, illustrated by a rightward shift from S1 to S2, signify, like it moves from S1 to S2. That signifies that at each price level, the producers are now capable of and willing to supply a greater quantity of goods and services. So this shift could result from lower production cost due to technological improvements, or maybe favorable weather conditions for agriculture products, or an increase in number of producers entering into the market. And, and meanwhile, are decreasing in supply depicted by a leftward supply curve from S1 to S3. That indicates at every price point, producers are now willing to supply less of the good or services compared to the previous. So the factors contributing to a decrease in supply might include higher input cost, unfavorable regulatory changes, or a reduction in the number of suppliers due to industry consolidations. Meanwhile, the changes in income encompasses shift in the entire supply curve that's due to the factor beyond the price fluctuations. So these factors include the change in input price, as we discussed. It can be raw material price, it can be the labor price, it can be the technological advancements, or future expectations of the producers, or etc. But in its contrast, the change in quantity supply that reflect movement along the curve. So a fixed supply curve in response to change solely in the market prices of the product. So this movement demonstrates how producers adjust their output levels to meet the changes in consumers' demand caused by the variation in price. So in short, if we can see the curve as three, if we are moving from one point to another point within the curve, that's reflecting the change in quantity supply, and that solely depend based on the variation in the price level of the product. But in case if any one of the determinants is changed, such as raw material price, wages, or government regulations through subsidies and taxes, are the producers' expectations for the futures. So in that case, the supply curve can be shifted to the rightward from S1 to S2, or it can be shifted from leftward from S1 to S3. That's indicating the change in supply instead of change in quantity supply. So it's a very important to distinguish between the changes in supply and changes in quantity supplied, because they have a different implications for market analysis and economic policies. So analyzing these distinctions help us to anticipate how producer will respond to various economic stimulations, and formulate effective strategies to manage the market equilibrium and stability. So understanding these dynamics provide a comprehensive view of supply side economics and its impact on market behavior. These are the determinants. It's just a listed. We have already discussed in previous two slides. So understanding these, the determinants, it will help to predict the how changes in these factors will affect the market supply. That enables the better strategic planning and decisions making in the market, such as we discussed, the resource prices, the change in the resource prices. So resource prices mean when the cost of the resources changes, such as the labor wages, the raw material, the price of machinery, it directly impact the production cost. So higher resources prices increase the cost of production. So that's reducing the profitability of the farm or of the producers, and thus decreasing the supply. And vice versa, if the lower resource prices, that reduce the cost, so it will increase the profitability, and it will motivate the producers to produce more and expand the supply. If we talk about changes in technology, technological advancement can significantly alter the production process, making them more efficient and reducing cost. So improved technology often leads to higher productivity and lower cost per produced unit produced, so which encourage the suppliers to increase their output and expand supply in the market. Like changes in the number of sellers. So an increase in the number of firms entering into the industry typically increase the supply. More the number of firms, and the more will be the supply in the market. And vice versa, a decrease the number of sellers, or decrease the number of producers, or decrease the number of firms in the market will reduce the supply in the market. Changes in taxes or subsidies. Tax imposed on a production or subsidies provided by the government directly affect the cost of production. So higher taxes increase the cost of production, so reducing the supply, so supply curve will be shifted leftward. And vice versa, if the government is providing a subsidies which lower the production cost, so incentivizing producers to increase the output and thus increase the supply in the market. And likewise, the changes in prices of the other goods or related goods can influence the supply. Related goods mean the substitute goods and the complementary goods. And here we will talk about the concept of opportunity cost. If the price of substitute goods rises, the producers may shift the production away from its original good to the substitute, so reducing the supply of the original good. And conversely, if the price of a complementary good rises, supplier may increase the supply of the both goods. So, in another aspect is a producer's expectations. So, expectations about future prices, cost, or market conditions that can impact the current supplier decisions. If producers anticipate higher future prices, they may reduce the current supply to make advantages of higher profit later on. So conversely, if they expect the lower future prices or increased cost, they may increase the current supply to avoid the potential losses in the future. So any one of these determinants changes will lead the changes in the supply curve. There is another very quick overview of the determinants of supply as we just explained in the previous slide. So each of these determinants directly influence the supply and can cause the supply curve to shift. A change in any one of or more of these factors alter the quantity of goods and services producers are willing and able to supply at any given price level. So understanding these determinants are crucial as they illustrate how external factors impact the market dynamics. So promoting the shift in the supply curves that economists and businesses analyze to anticipate the market behavior and make informed decisions. As we come to the end of this enlightening discussion, so I want to extend my heartfelt gratitude to each and every one of you. If you have any question, your thoughts, your reflection, your suggestions that arises after this lecture, please feel free to share them in the comment section. And thank you once again for being a part of this virtual gathering. I look forward to see your comments and engaging with you further. So until next time, stay curious and keep exploring. And don't forget to like and subscribe this channel.